He couldn't even lift a weapon, yet the galaxy would soon speak his name with reverence and fear. Elias Korrin was born in Mars Colony 9, a low-gravity zone where bones grew like glass and muscles never quite remembered their purpose. At the age of 10, Elias was already diagnosed with multiple degenerative disorders, none terminal, but all limiting. He couldn't run without stumbling, couldn't lift more than 10 kilograms, couldn't do push-ups, hold a weapon, or pass even the most basic academy fitness test. That didn't stop him. What he lacked in strength, he made up for in one terrifying advantage: his mind. While others trained on the battlefield, Elias trained in war theory, data analysis, alien dialects, gravitational physics, and tactical modeling. He consumed ancient war logs from Earth and modern galactic campaign footage as if they were scripture. When he closed his eyes, Elias could see 10 steps ahead in every engagement. He wasn't fast, but he was precise. The intergalactic unity cores, the IUC, had no room for weaklings, but Elias applied anyway. He failed the physicals. He failed the zero-G simulations, but he aced every strategy exam ever written, and then some. So they placed him reluctantly into Black Echo, a shadow division meant for minds, not muscle. He was called a burden, a walking liability, but when their first mission turned into an ambush, Elias saved the entire squad by rerouting orbital defense drones from memory, using a backdoor code he designed for a simulation. That's when they started calling him the Ghost, not because he was stealthy, but because they couldn't believe he was real. He had never fired a weapon, never killed. But now the galaxy was watching, and death was on its way to find him. The call came from the dead moon HFY, known on every galactic chart as a no-fly zone. Once home to a thriving research station, it was now a graveyard of static and silence. Ships that landed there seldom returned. It was haunted by time, tragedy, and now Elias's own code signature. Only he could have written it. A distress signal locked in a cipher only he used in private war simulations. But he hadn't sent it. This was a message, a trap, a challenge. As Black Echo's dropship entered HFY's orbit, thick clouds clawed at the vessel's hull like the fingers of the dead. The crew, veterans of 20 campaigns, felt uneasy. The silence was wrong. Not tactical, not ambient. It was expected. Elias sat at the back, his body strapped tight in a shock couch, heart hammering inside a rib cage to light for war. His hands shook, not from fear but from something older, a strange, quiet knowing that this mission wasn't like the others. This wasn't reconnaissance. This was personal, and he was being hunted. Paragraph 3. The HFY was a maze of ruins and echoes, collapsed towers, crumbling biodomes, and subterranean passages dripping with frost and data ghosts. Elias's team fanned out, their armor glowing in the dark like miniature stars. His HUD flickered constantly, jamming, twitching. Something on this moon didn't like to be seen. They reached the central command chamber, half buried, thick with moss and cracked glass, and found the first body. Not old, still warm. Not human. VLARI. A high-level psychic species known for interrogating minds without permission. His brain had been burned from the inside, but the strangest part was carved into the wall behind him. Greater than he sees what we cannot, but he does not know what he is. Elias stared at the words. They were written in his own handwriting. Impossible. That night, the whispers started. As he closed his eyes to rest, static filled his calms, faint voices. His own voice. Dozens of versions of himself whispering secrets he didn't remember learning. Elias Korrin is not a name, the voice said. It is a designation. The line came from a recorded memory, but Elias had no recollection of it. As he searched the digital archives within the HFY lab, encrypted files cracked open like eggshells under his commands. But what they revealed shattered his foundation. He saw logs of a clone project, not of warriors, but of tactical minds. Artificially grown strategists, brilliant, fragile, genetically suppressed to never become strong physically, so their minds would be prioritized, controlled, monitored, terminated after 5 years, and his serial number was on every file. Elias wasn't born. He was designed. The training, the pain, the random ailments, all planned. He was a tool, meant to be sharp, not long-lasting, but he had lived beyond the termination point. Something had gone wrong or right. And now the system that created him wanted to clean up its last, smartest mistake. The second ambush came at night. Black Echo's forward camp was overrun by biomechanical assassins, sleek, silent, non-organic killers. They didn't use weapons. They used extraction tools like they were recovering something valuable from the squad. Not just killing Dot as soldiers fell around him. Elias didn't run. He COULD in single quotes D Dot instead. He closed his eyes and activated every satellite in orbit with a silent signal only he knew. He reprogrammed the temperature regulators in the atmosphere to cause a flash freeze wave. The attackers slowed. That gave him seconds. Seconds were enough. He turned the lab's neurofusion core into an EMP burst, disabling all cybernetic targets in a mile radius including his own neural link. He fell to his knees, bleeding from the nose, ears ringing. When he woke, the camp was burning. Survivors were few, but they were alive because of him. He hadn't fired a weapon, he hadn't thrown a punch, but he had one Dot, and in that moment, the survivors began to understand. Greater than Elias didn't need to become a soldier. He was something older. Rarer Dot, a mind blade, a warrior who didn't fight with strength, but with clarity, speed, and vision. Below the ruined surface of KRLV, a hidden chamber pulsed with light that predated the colony. Elias discovered it by tracking energy anomalies no one else noticed. The structure was alien, not Droxan, not Valari, not even known to Unity. Records, it had no doors, no windows, only resonance. It responded not to touch, but to thought. As Elias approached it, the lights within shifted to mirror his neural rhythms. It welcomed him like a returning king. The others couldn't enter. Even the tech-sensitive Valari sensors failed inside its core. But Elias walked through walls of plasma and memory as if they were home. The chamber revealed visions, echoes of wars not yet fought, civilizations erased before they rose, and a central object pulsing with immense intelligence. It was not a weapon Dot, it was a question Dot, and Elias was the answer. He reached toward the core, and it didn't burn him. Instead, it sang, a note, pure and high-pitched, filled the air, and his mind split open, not in pain, but awakening. He didn't remember being here before, but the chamber remembered him. Upon returning from the chamber, Elias was different. Not in body, his muscles were still thin, his limbs light, but in presence. He spoke less, but when he did, the room froze. His voice carried certainty that bent even veteran commanders. The ship AI, Astra, began obeying his commands without verification. Why? Because somewhere in its deepest protocol, his name was listed not as personnel, but as an overseer. Black Echo watched in awe as he rerouted IUC warships to strategic locations before the next Droxan raid even launched, not because of leaks, but because Elias had predicted it from KRLV's harmonics. The artifact had shown him timelines, paths, futures. The Ghost Protocol, a mythical override built by the Unity's founders to identify one who could lead. During the fall of Galactic Order had activated Elias Korrin, the boy who couldn't carry a blaster, now had control of battle fleets across 7 star systems, and the Droxan Empire knew it. They didn't send an army, they sent one, a creature called Vihor, taller than tanks, older than planets. A psychic hunter bred not for war, but for elimination. Its armor was made of shriek metal. Its mind could shatter other minds in silence. It didn't walk. It glided across fields, space. What? It arrived without warning, bypassing all detection. 1 second, Elias was briefing fleet commanders. The next, he stood alone on the observation deck as Vihor emerged from shadow like a living void. You are the fracture, Vihor whispered, without moving his mouth. Elias didn't flinch. And you are the glue they send when things get too real. Their duel wasn't physical. It was mental. A battle of memories, of probabilities, of timeline overrides. Vihor launched 1,000 versions of reality at him, each trying to bend Elias's mind into self-erasure. But Elias had seen. The artifact touched the echo. He bent time, saw past Elias, and reversed every illusion. Vihor screamed a soundless horror that made stars dim, then collapsed. Not from damage, but from irrelevance. Elias had outthought the unthinkable. The galaxy didn't celebrate him, because most didn't know what had happened. The Droxan forces retreated from Unity borders without explanation. Fleets that had hovered on the brink of war simply reversed course. Commanders resigned. Worlds aligned. But it wasn't victory. It was silence, behind the scenes. Elias had seen what was coming next, an ancient intelligence buried beneath the galactic core. Something the Droxan feared. Something the artifact had warned him about. Something that woke every few millennia to reset existence. Dia had many names, but one stuck. The unseen Elias began preparing not for a battle, but for a rewriting of laws. Physics, purpose. He needed allies not of strength, but of clarity. Thinkers, seers, mind blades like himself. He formed them in secret, 10 minds across 10 worlds. Trained in silence, years passed. Elias never touched a weapon, yet his influence became legend. He was the strategist whose war never began because he stopped it before it sparked. The name used in training simulations, the face never shown, yet always present in moments of cosmic turning. The IUC once doubted him. Now they feared disappointing him. The Droxen never spoke of him again, not out of respect. By terror, Vihor's name was erased from their archives. KLV was sealed, forbidden by treaty. And in deep space, a man who once couldn't lift, a weapon now held the power to guide entire civilizations, not through violence, but through vision. He didn't fight with guns. He fought with truth, and that made him the greatest warrior of them all.